military coup in Myanmar. But of course, we as a lot of friends, comrade join us, is not only focusing on the political situation, but of course we are also very concerned on the workers' situation, how the workers is organize themselves to join or participate in the protests. But first of all, because the situation is really very tense and very bad, especially for the last few days, quite a number of death tolls were reported. So we would like to conduct a 1 minute silence, and then to memorize, to as a tribute to the people that who sacrificed themselves in the protest. So we will have this 1 minute silence, and then we will start our webinar.
Hello.
Yes, most way you can lead the moment of silence.
Yes. So thank you for inviting me. So, college and participants from the ATNC Edward meetings. Last couple of weeks, we have more than 82 protesters were killed by the Spanish military. That's why we want to pay respect and remember for them. So kindly silent for 1 minute now. We can return to the normal position. Thank you.
Neighbor.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We just observe a 1 minute silence to remind ourselves for the people who sacrificed in the past few days. So I think we can, at first, I think the very important thing is introduce our interpretation system. I think that our friends who from hosting the interpretation, can you just remind the our participant again, like the channels? Is it Ira can help us to? Yeah. So from the chart that everybody can see, therefore we have few channels. Sorry that because it is very fast. I cannot see the channels. And then we have Indonesian, and then we have if you are listening to Cantonese, that you can go to the Chinese channel, and then the others is the Japanese. If you want to listen to the Indonesia, that you can go to the Japanese channel, and then Burmese that you can go to the French channel, and then for the Thai that you can go to the Spanish channel. So this is the arrangement, and then we are doing recording of the whole webinar, and because we don't have much time for this webinar, so I think that without any further ado, that we better start the webinar. And then today's we have a few guests will come to speak to us, and then our basically our moderator is Abu, and then he has been working for AMRC for quite some times, and then this time that even though Abu is no longer with us, but then he very generally help us to host this, to moderate this webinar. And then I will hand over the time to Abu, and then to introduce our speakers, and also we will have some times to discuss.
Thank you, Mabel. Good afternoon and good morning for Gilles and Moswe, and also good evening for some participants from Hong Kong. We have a different time zone here who's joined here. Yeah, I would like to say thank you to ATNC and MRC for co-organize this meeting, this discussion. And thank you very much for Moswe and Gilles because the two of them is available as our speaker. Yes, I want to give a brief introduction before we start the discussion. Since the 1st February, the military junta in Myanmar took over the power and then dissolved the election result. And since that, the mass resistance happening in Myanmar until today, including the resistance organized by the workers in form of work stoppage, in a large scale of strike everywhere in industrial zone, in the garment factory, and also in another sector of industry. And since 1 week ago, the crackdown is getting more violence. More than 50 protesters is killed by the military. So in terms of the violence, the condition is getting worse because the violence is increased, more and more protesters killed, including yesterday, more than 30, at least 30 protesters killed by the military. And in our discussion now, we have two speakers. One is Moswe. Moswe is a General Secretary of Yang Chiu Workers Association. Yang Chiu is a worker association or a union who already established in Myanmar for a long time ago. Mostly they are focused on the migrant workers or Myanmar migrant workers in Thailand, especially in the border in Mysore. They are already organized migrant workers for a long time. And now they also organize the internal workers in Myanmar, especially in Sipitar, and actively participate and helping and supporting the workers on organizing the strikes. So Moswe is the General Secretary of Yang Chiu, but he himself is not stay in Myanmar, so it's safe for him to share with us openly in this discussion. Moswe is become a political exile for a long time ago, and now he stay in Norwegian. And and the second speaker is Giles. I'm not sure how to spell it. Giles. Giles is a political thinker, a Marxist and academic from Thailand, and he also a political exile from 2009 after facing lèse majesté charge in Thailand. And he is also academic and before is teaching in Chulalongkorn University. I'm sorry if there's some information is not accurate about the speaker. So yeah, so maybe we can start now, and maybe we can start from Moswe first. Moswe will give us some situation update on what happened, especially after the crackdown in the last 1 week. What happened now in Myanmar in terms of the increase of violence by the military and by the police. And also Moswe will share about the labor movement role in this struggle against the, the military junta. And after Moswe, we will have Gilles, who will explain and share his perspective and his analysis about how the military regime or military junta operated both in Myanmar and in Thailand, how the economic and political resource they have and they maintain for quite long time in these two countries. Yeah, so now I give the floor to Moswe. Thank you.
Thank you, Abu, and then other participants for letting me give the opportunity to talk here. Before we start, let me explain the background situation, background about Myanmar. Actually, you might know already, in the Burmese military take the power 3 times in Myanmar. Almost it stayed almost 60 years. 1962, we get it independent from colony in 1948. Our brother in 1962, military take the power, and then after 26 years, we call people movement in 1988. It is one of the biggest demonstration in our history. So at that time, there's a military take the power again in 1988, and then they promised to hold the elections. So in 1990, NLD entered to the elections led by the NLD led by Aung San Suu Kyi entered to the elections, and the NLD win the election in 1990, but military didn't hand over the power, and instead they arrest all the NLD, most of the parliament members who were elected in 1990 elections. The Aung San Suu Kyi are also in house arrest. So you already know about that. Later, our military draw the constitution. It is take 14 years. So finally, in 2008, military finished they started draw the constitution in 1995. And then they finished in 2008. And then military held the election in 2010. But the Aung San Suu Kyi and NLD party cannot enter to the election. Finally, in 2012, by-election, they held a by-election, and the Aung San Suu Kyi and NLD entered to the elections, and they win at the by-elections. Again, in 2015, there's a general election again, and the NLD and led by Aung San Suu Kyi win that in the elections again, and then the NLD led by Aung San Suu Kyi governments ruled the country for 5 years. So as you know already, you may be aware that in 2020, November 8, it is a last election that under the civilian government. So in November 8, 2020 elections, and NLD led by Aung San Suu Kyi win 80% of the house, parliament house seats. So you know already. So in actually in the parliament members support to call the parliament in February, 1st February. The military take the power on 1st February. They arrest Aung San Suu Kyi, state councillor, and President U Win Myint, and then some government ministry minister. And then also detained their activists, including labor activists, and then also student activists. So it is started in, so later on in we, especially the student and the worker secretly made the meetings to protest against the military coup. So we started. We go to the street on February 5th, call them to protest against the military coup and to release all our leaders, Aung San Suu Kyi and President Win and who those detains, and then to respect our vote. So actually, this movement started with by the Burmese student and then young teenagers. We call Generation Z, Generation Z. So and Burmese workers. So a couple of weeks ago, military started crackdown our demonstrations. Day by day, people joined to the movement and then came out to the street. You may know already on the pictures and online, there's a lot of photos. Even in we call the general strike in 22 February. So millions of people came out on the street to show the international community and the Burmese military what we want. So according to the Google map, 20 million people came out on the street in the whole Burma. So later on, military started crackdown on the protesters. At the beginning, they used their rubber bullet, and then later on, they used the rear bullet. Problem is now they use the sniper. The sniper are targeted to the young people we call Generation Z. Currently, those generations Z are leading this movement. They are very modernized. They know how to use the technology, high tech. So that's why military targeted those young teenagers who led this movement. So another problem is the security. So what the military doing is at the daytime, they crack down the protester by force, executive forces. So they use rubber bullets, smoke bomb, and then rear bullet at night. Even in the daytime, when they try to crack cut down the protesters, they use their attack. Some of them, they give some money to theirs. They hire some thug, and then they try to beat the people, protester. So normally the protester are without arm. We don't have any arm. So that those people who hire by the military, they have a knife and some kind of baton, especially they have a sharpened staff, and then they pretend to be the demonstrator. They join to the crowd, inside the crowd, and they start make the problem. So they throw the stone to the police, and then they started make the problem. So the police started shoot to the crowd. It is another problem. So and then at night, so in Burma now, we have to protect ourselves, because at night time the police came and arrest the activists and then leaders, also the people, civilian servants who joined to the civil disobedient movement. You may know already we call civil CDM, we call civil disobedient movement. So we activists as the civilian servant to stop working because of this government, this military culture is illegal. So we call all the civilian government to support our elected government, so to stop working. So most of the, we must say now 55% of the civilian servant joined to the CDM. So at night time, the police came to the house secretly. They tried to break in the house and then arrest the people who joined the CDM, who joined the who led the protests, and then so later on, the some of the people, even we believe that the military hired some people to annoying the people. So there's some people to make the problem at night time. So the people have to protect ourselves. Usually now in Burma, there is no administration system officially. So the people have to protect ourselves. We set that our security team by student, the elder person, and then monk. That so we protect each other. So the people block the street at night time. So many cases we believe that the police shot to the whose security guard at the security at the street. So now we have a problem. We at the daytime when we go to the street, we have to face the our life, the life is at the dangers by shot by the rear bullet by the police and soldiers. At night time, the soldiers and police came to the your house, and then they can break, and then they can arrest. They didn't. Sometimes they even uh, people ask why they have to why they are arrested. They never ask. They never show any. They never give any reason. Also, people ask, "Do you have any warrant?" They said no. We don't need it. So they came to your house. If you don't open a door, they break it. And you may see last couple of days ago, even some we in Burma, we have some voluntarily rescue members. They stop the volunteer ambulance, and then they beat 3 people from the rescue charge, and one were believed to be killed now. So we couldn't find him now. We believe he was killed. So situation is you might know more. You may know more, many photos and video clips online. So in our organization, organize the worker in Shutida industrial zone, which our office located. So every day, we all at least more than 1,000 workers, we have a sit-in strike in the areas. So we more than 20 worker unions join to the strike every day. One of the problem for the big problem for that is securities and another threat by the employers. Most of the employer don't allow a worker to join the protest. Even they don't allow the worker, some of the worker to ask for the leave, and then they don't allow any leave. So the worker have to sneak off from the factories and to join the protest. And then the employer also threat the worker. They can be sick. They can be fired if they join to the protest. Also, some of the employer also to inform the local authority. So we, in this case now, last week, more than 35 labor organizations, including my organization, Yangjiu Workers, were blacklisted and then announced by the illegal organization as illegal organization by the army military. So we are at high risk, and our organizer cannot stay at home at night. So there we have to that the leaders, organizer, go to the strike at daytime. At night, we have to hide somewhere else. We cannot. They cannot go home. So many people down fire from the sick from the many workers who joined to the protest sick from the fire from the factories. So this is a current situation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Moswe, for your situation update and how the workers' organization is organized strike in different industrial zones, including in Sipitar, that Yangjiu have office there. We can elaborate more on how the workers organize strike in the different industrial zone and in the different sector. But before that, I will give our time to Giles to sharing his perspective and analysis on what happened in Burma, and if possible, also compare with what happened in Thailand. Please, Giles, 20 minutes. Thank you. Oh yeah, before that, if you have, if all participants have question, you can write your question in the chat box or in the question and answer box. So I can ask the question to the speaker. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. First of all, I'd like to talk about the compare the military juntas in Thailand and Myanmar. Obviously, the key thing is that both military juntas in Thailand and in Myanmar are prepared to be utterly ruthless, use live ammunition against protesters and so on. And they have done this many times as well. Now, in terms of the military in Thailand, it's rather factionalized between different groups of generals. And this factionalism weakens the military to some extent. And compared to the Myanmar military has a long history of holding power, and it's much more institutionalized than the military in Thailand. The military in Thailand has been overthrown twice since the 1970s, in 1973 and in 1992, by mass popular uprisings. The military in Myanmar was nearly overthrown in 1998, and I will say something later about that. In Myanmar, the military control a lot of companies, and that helps to make them into an institution as well. The ideology of the military in Myanmar is extreme nationalism, linked to Buddhist nationalism as well. And even in the Ne Win years, from the 1960s onwards, despite Ne Win calling himself a socialist, it wasn't really socialism. It was much more a question of national state capitalism, where the state organizes the economy in a capitalist way without foreign investment and so on. In Thailand, the military they also have businesses, but they're much smaller than in terms of a percentage of the economy than in Myanmar, and the military enjoy huge funds through taxation. Since the 1970s, the Thai economy has grown, and the degree of capitalist free market has completely overshadowed any state control of the economy, which is not the case to the same extent in Myanmar. So in Thailand, the military have to share power, if you like, with the private capitalist class, and the private capitalist class aren't automatically in favor of democracy at all. So they sometimes they will back democracy. There will be political parties supported by the private capitalist class, but sometimes they're just happy to go along with the military junta. The ideology of the Thai military is nationalist, but unlike Myanmar, the ideology involves claiming to protect the monarchy. So the monarchy is a big part of the ideology of the Thai military. This is the case because the Thai military can't claim any legitimacy in terms of democracy, which is an important idea in Thailand, and they can't claim to have liberated the country in the way that the Myanmar military could do in the past. So the ideology of the monarchy is all prevalent within the military. Now, in my view, the power of the monarchy is very much exaggerated. And this is a debatable point, but I feel that the power of the monarchy is not as some of the activists claim. In fact, that the monarchy is very weak in terms of its own power, its ability to meddle in politics and so on. The present king only gives an opinion when it affects his private lifestyle. The present king and the previous king didn't really have any power to intervene in society, and the present king is even less powerful because he isn't interested in social and economic matters at all. So I think that it's important that people should see that the use of the lèse-majesté law, which is a law which the Thai military are using more and more now in order to lock up protesters, that isn't really about protecting the monarchy. It's much more about protecting the status quo and especially the military junta. In the case of Thailand, the military junta is supported by the middle class, and the middle class has come to support a military intervention because they believe that ordinary working people or farmers are too stupid to be allowed to elect governments. I don't know about the role of the middle class in Myanmar. I suspect, and some people can contribute on this, but I suspect that there are sections of the Myanmar population who benefit from the military. Now, the present situation, both in Thailand and in pre-coup Myanmar, was quite similar, and I think it's fair to say that the two militaries are great friends with each other, and that the present Thai parliamentary dictatorship, whereby they have controlled parliament through the constitutional clauses which allow them to do that, was in some ways copied from the 2008 Myanmar military constitution. Now, I think that there are lessons to be learned from the struggles both in Thailand and in Burma. One lesson is that symbolic street protests, for example, the use of rubber ducks, which we saw in Thailand, and repeated street protests week after week, although they start out by raising the profile of the protests and drawing in more people, after a while they have limited power. We're seeing that the movement is on the decline in Thailand, and so I think that that's one lesson for everyone. There's also the issue of self-defense, because when the military shoot down people, it's important that the protesters can defend themselves. And on this issue, I would argue that the violence of the oppressor, i.e. the military, cannot be equated with the violence of people defending themselves. And so it's important not to condemn the violence of people who are defending themselves against the military. But having said that, I think that the lessons from Thailand and from Burma indicate that armed struggle against the state is not the answer. This was tried by the Burmese students in after the 88 crackdown, and it came to nothing. It's been tried by the ethnic armies within Myanmar, and it still hasn't resulted in their self-determination. And it's been tried in Thailand by the Communist Party of Thailand and also the separatist movement in Pattani. So armed struggle is not the answer. Change through parliament in the sham democracy that we have in Thailand, or the sham democracy that existed in Myanmar, and I see that the military in Myanmar are trying to talk about revamping the electoral system and so on. None of that is actually going to get rid of the military, the undemocratic control of the country by the military in either Thailand and Myanmar. In Thailand, some of the parties are trying to change the constitution, but they're coming up against all sorts of obstacles. I would also argue that international pressure has little benefit. I know that a lot of people are hoping that the West and imperial powers will come to the help of Burma and so on. But I think it's important to understand that the United States, Britain, and China as well are not really interested in democracy. What they want is some kind of stability so that they can conduct business as usual. And they may make noises about the need for democracy, but they were very happy to accept the half democracy, the parliamentary sham democracy that occurred in Myanmar in 2008, and they seem to be happy to accept the sham democracy within Thailand. So I think the issue that is most important in terms of the lessons of the struggle is that we need mass social movements to continue to struggle, and it's been inspirational to see that happening in Myanmar. It's been inspirational to see that happening in Thailand. Yet we need to analyze these social movements, and I think that what the lessons from places like Sudan, Egypt, Tunisia, Belarus, Hong Kong, when there were strikes, show that workers' strikes put a lot more power into the hands of social movements. So mass social movements and mass strikes by workers are the key to making the country ungovernable, and that is what can lead to the overthrow of the military. And the movement in Thailand is weaker compared to Myanmar because of the lack of workers' strikes. And so we see that the leaders of the movement are all facing lèse-majesté charges, multiple charges, some of them, and there doesn't seem to be a strategy to defend the leaders or to overthrow the military. In Myanmar, it's been great to see a general strike. It's good to know that strikes are continuing. I think that one of the reasons why this can occur is because Myanmar has more of a history of political trade unionism rather than when compared to Thailand. But there are warnings. I think that strikes shouldn't be treated like you treat tap water. They shouldn't be just turned on and turned off. I think that what is very important is that the strikes should be increased. Not having, I don't think that it will be enough to have a one-day general strike or small strikes, and I'm hoping that the working class movement in Myanmar will do its utmost to actually go forward to a permanent general strike. And now that really raises the question about leadership, political leadership, because these mass movements and strikes and so on don't exist in a vacuum. And I think that what we can say is that Aung San Suu Kyi, as a leader, is not fit for purpose in terms of overthrowing the military. She's cooperated with the military over the last 5 or more years. She's praised the military on occasions. In the 88 uprising at Shwedaw Gong pagoda, she addressed a huge crowd of hundreds of thousands of people and told them to forget what the military had done and to continue to love the military, thus demobilizing the movement. And also her attitude to the various ethnic groups, especially the Rohingya, but not just the Rohingya, is very questionable given her Burmese Buddhist nationalism. And I think that that's an obstacle to uniting people to struggle against the military. I think that I'm hoping that workers, young people and so on in Myanmar start to build an alternative leadership to gradually overthrow the military. Thank you.
Thank you, Jas, for your deep analysis and comparative perspective on how military in Myanmar and in Thailand operate, and then the historical background, and how the military in both countries have a different relation with the state and with the economic, and how the ideology of Thai military as nationalist is slightly different with the Myanmar, and Thai military don't have enough claim to the struggle for the independence, and that is different with the Myanmar. Myanmar military have stronger legitimacy, stronger claim on the independence struggle. But both of these military are friends, and they are enemies, and like pointed by Jales, the most important is how the mass social movement and mass strike is very vital in the struggle against the military. So yeah, thank you for both speakers. Now we can have a question and answer. But there are 5 questions already in the chat box and in the question and answer box. But before that, if for Indonesian attendee, you can type your question in Bahasa, and I will translate that question to the speaker. So yeah, just type in Bahasa, because from what I see is majority of the attendee participant is from Indonesia. Yeah, quite interesting. Oh yeah, the first question is for, I think it is for Mosfe. This is related to how the labor movement organized the widespread of strike everywhere in many city and many industrial zone, and how this widespread of worker strike is happen, and what is the role of this strike in the resistance, in the resistance to the coup. This question is put by Arnel and also put by Apolleo. So that is the first question on how the widespread worker strike happened in many cities, and what is the role of strike in the overall in the resistance to the coup. And then the second question, second category of question is why the trade union or organized labor in Myanmar is united against the coup, but military coup, against the military coup. But in Thailand, it seems some union are support the takeover or the coup by the military. In Thailand, it seems some union is support or in the military side, not against the coup. So maybe that comparative question can answer by Giles. And I think and another question is the third question is about what is the Rohingya community in Myanmar condition now after the coup? What is their position now in the coup? And last week, this question from Jeffrey is from Malaysia. Last week, the Myanmar military government agreed to send a ship to take more than 1,000 Myanmar refugees from Malaysia. And what happened with them now? Yeah, I think that's 3 questions first. So maybe Giles or Mosfe can answer first. Maybe Mosfe first. Yeah.
Yes. First question is how to organize the worker strike. Yeah, is that right? How to organize. Yeah. Actually, in 2010, the military made the election, so they actually we don't have a really union and labor organization in Burma since 1962 to 2010 because of successive military regimes don't allow to set up the pre-trade union in Burma. So after 2010 election, the militaries became the civilian government. They allow them to set up the union in Burma. can register as a union. Actually, at that time, we cannot use the name of trade union. They have to register like as a BLO, Basic Labor Organization. They cannot use officially trade union. They have to register as a basic labor organization. So since 2012, many factories started. We also organized some workers to start to register, to organize the union and then register as a union. So now there are more than almost 1,000 unions, basic union labor organization are registered. Even we try to register. So, but military, actually, most of the, in the government sector, like as a labor ministry, labor directors, used to be the former ace military officials. They know us very well because we young Jews used to be based in Thailand working for the Burmese migrant workers. So time to time we ask for the freedom and democracy and human rights and labor rights in Burma. So the military see us. We are the troublemakers. So when we base in the we move inside Burma, and then we try to register as a union. They started delay the process, something like that. So we have a registered unions in Burma, and then some of the unions are not registered yet. So when there's a strike, it happened once in 2015. There is a student strike. Student call for the student right in Burma. So at the same time, the workers trying to support the student strike. The student marched from the Upper Burma to Rangoon, almost 400. More than 400 miles long. They marched at the time. We workers try to support the students. So in our history, all the movement were led by the student and workers. So that's why since 2012, so we started organizing worker inside secretly. So we give the training to the workers. So actually, some of the factories, they allow their workers to attend our trainings. Some of the factory don't allow them to workers to attend the training, but they sneak out, and then they give their salary within social reason, and they came. So many factories we have connected. And then also we have a labor connect, labor networks, labor networks. So that's why actually in Rangoon alone, there's more than 28 industrialized zones. But usually now in this movement, mostly Klintaya industrial zone and Sripita industrial zone, or we could organize workers. Other industrialized workers, they trying to people protest on the street, not only worker strike. The worker join to the people on the street. So what we could do is for example, we are in Sripita industrialized zone. So we have connected with the workers union inside the factories. So every day we give that target date, and then we give the target date location to them. So we gather one place, and that we call this sitting strike because of Sripita industrialized zone. Downtown is quite far away to join to the people in the in the center of the cities. So we use one place at the how to call it, poke points. So and then we call the sit-in strike. Currently, the military more focus downtown, more focus downtown. They didn't came and crack down to the our sit-in strike, but we believe they are coming very soon, very soon. But they didn't clear down our strike. But at night, the security forces are looking for our organization and then late labor activists now. It is one question. And then another question is I forget that the Rohingya. Is that right?
Yes, yes. But Rohingya, yeah.
1,000 were Rohingya came back from the Malaysias.
Yeah.
Is that right? The after
Yeah,
military coup.
From Jeffrey from Malaysia, he said if the military junta, military government in Myanmar agree to receive 1,000 Myanmar refugees sent back from Malaysia. Do you hear about this? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, we also get that information because of I think like 4 days ago, at the early morning, there are many buses came from came out from the port, Yangon port. So people started annoying who are those people. So finally, we find out that those people are from Malaysia. The military take back from the Malaysia. We finally find out, and then they were kept in the one of the camp suburb of the Rangoon. So one of the man sneak out from the camps, and then at the beginnings, people are really suspect. They came to the people quarter, so and then nearby the camp. So people started ask, why? Where are you from? So actually, they don't know nothing. What happening in Burma? They don't know that we have a strike in Burma. So people strike that the military clear down, military hire the thug and then to kill the people. So they don't know anything about that. So that's why people started, at the beginning, people are very suspect. So, and then finally, we find out those military, I don't know why that military take that 1,000 the people. Actually, it is not only just Rohingya. We that man who were in the group in act keep by the people asked the questions, and then he said in 1,000 group people, including other ethnic, Kachin, Shan, and also Pami also. So they are now keep in the one camp. I don't know why military do that by this time. It is a current situation, yes.
Thank you, Mosfe, for your answer. And maybe now is just why, if in Myanmar the union is against the coup, against the military governments, but why in Thailand it seems, most from what I know, from what I heard also, the majority of the mainstream union in Thailand is support the military, not against. So in the another side, can you explain why? Yeah, thank you.
The trade union movement in Thailand is split between politically between state enterprises and unions in the private sector. The state enterprise unions, their leaders anyway, not necessarily all their members, but their leaders, especially people like Somsak Kosai Suk, took a reactionary position towards the struggles that have been taking place ever since the coup against Thaksin Shinawat's elected government. took this reactionary position because people like Somsa are opportunists. They wanted to get rid of the Thaksin government, but they didn't want to actually build a mass movement of ordinary people, of trade unionists. They wanted to rely on royalists, and so they built a coalition with the royalists, the yellow shirts, and so on, and they ended up by supporting a military coup. This has been made easier in state enterprise unions because there is a culture of collaboration within these state enterprise unions, collaboration with management. So, you know, the leaders of the state enterprise unions, rather than using the strike tool to further their demands, would go and sit down and have cozy meetings with management and rely on managers and top managers of state enterprises to lobby the government for them. The unions in the private sector are organized in many ways, and some of the more militant ones are organized in area groups, which are rank and file groupings of different unions in the private sector. But in Thailand, there is a general lack of political unionism because there is no left party which is actually prepared to build politics, left-wing politics within the trade unions. So the majority of trade union activists are syndicalists. They're people that believe that reject the need to build a political party of the trade unions and concentrate on using the trade union as the main vehicle for change. But because they reject general politics in the main, they concentrate on what they call bread and butter workers' issues, rather than talking about general politics. And this is helped by the intervention of some very established NGOs and international unions who don't want to bring politics into the trade unions. So in that sense, that is why the movement in Thailand against the dictatorship is much weaker in terms of the labor movement. As far as the Rohingya are concerned, a couple of weeks ago, I attended a meeting. Well, I listened to it, where a number of representatives from different ethnic groups in Myanmar were discussing the situation, and then it's quite clear that the Rohingya do not want to return to Myanmar at this stage because it isn't safe. Nothing has changed, and they don't actually trust the military, quite rightly, and they don't trust Aung San Suu Kyi either. There was a question in the chat addressed to me about how to strengthen the political leadership of movements, especially when these movements are leaderless. Now, it's understandable why people choose to build what they call leaderless movements, because I mean, in the past they have been disappointed with movements that are led by political parties like Thai Rak Thai or other political parties, which end up selling out the movement and so on. But the fact of the matter is that any movement, whether or not it calls itself leaderless, actually has leaders. And this is something that we can learn from the experience of Podemos in Spain, where they claimed that they were leaderless and so on. And the movement in Thailand has leaders. We know who the leaders are. And the problem is, if you have a leaderless movement, you can't build the democratic structures of a coalition to lead a mass movement. You need to actually accept that there will be leaders, but these leaders need to come through a democratic process from the rank and file, and that is something which I think some of the Thai activists are now moving towards, but that's only a small number of them. But I think that the important thing is that in any large social movement, in any strikes and so on, people will be intervening, people will be trying to lead, whatever people say. And that's normal because people have political inputs into it. So, you know, there will be people arguing that we don't want to go too far. We just want to compromise with the military. There will be people arguing, actually, we need to go much further and we need to make the country ungovernable and so on. And so in my opinion, in order to strengthen these movements, we actually need the intervention of more radical political groups, political parties, in order to, and these parties need to be connected to the working class in order to push the movement forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mosfe and GA. Yeah, Mosfe, please. Yeah.
Yeah,
You want
may
to
I
say
add,
something? Yeah.
because of in my I want to add something in this movement to see the more clear pictures. So currently in our movement in Burma now, we have 3 strategies. One is a people movement on the street, protects every day. Sometimes we call for the like a target date, we call the general strike, time by time. Another one is protest on the street. Another one is we call CDM, the civil disobedience movement. Civil government don't work, don't go to the work. And then another thing is legitimacy. We have elected parliament members in 2010 November 8, NLD win the election. 82% houses win the election. So after military take the power, some of the parliament member have to fight. Finally, 2 weeks ago, 380 parliament members set at the committee representative for parliament. It is called CRPH, Committee Representative for Piduluto. Piduluto means parliament. So they said that. Actually, they are there. They have a mandate and legitimacy because of they are voted by the Burmese people in 2020 November elections. So they have a ballot. They have a legitimacy. Now they set up that CRPH. Now CRPH now started appoint some kind of the license officer, something like the representative of United Nations and the international affair, etc. So some of the even now, so we have a 3 strategy. One is people protest on the strike, and then one is CDM, one is legal our representative. Now many Burmese embassies, they not many, but we might say now you may know already. One of the military appointed ambassador for UN who joined to our movement now. So he gave the speech in the UN last week. Maybe some people already know. Now, embassy in Washington, Myanmar embassy Washington, joined to the CDM now. Germany, Myanmar embassy in Germany, and then some of the embassy staff in Switzerland. They also joined to the CDM. So now that we are doing like that, and currently we have a actually you may say we don't have a leadership in this movement because of that movement started by the that we call the Generation Z. So we are the Burmese student in 1988. They call we are the Generation X. Now Generation X, Generation Y. In 1996, there is another student uprising. They call it is a Generation Y. Now currently, the people leading the protest on street, they call themselves Generation Z, Generation Z. So now Generation X, Y, Z, we are working together because we have a lot of experience how to call this time. We were cleared down by the military. We have to run away to the army, the border. So now we are working together, Generation X, Y, Z. Now we try to set up the general strike committee. It is a current situation I want to share.
Thank you very much, Moswe, for your explanation on the three main strategy developing now in Myanmar. We have a lot of questions now, so maybe we need to back to the question. I think the question on the alternative leadership is already answered by Giles, and Giles put a very important reflection on the leaderless movement. That leaderless movement sometimes have strength, but it's also important to build democratically the alternative leadership during the struggle. So of course we have so many questions now. So yeah, the question on the political leadership is already answered by Giles, and there are a question on are there workers' mass organization or committee beside the trade union who defending against military attack in Myanmar? The question is from here. Are there workers' mass organization or committee beside the trade union for defending against military attack in Myanmar? That is the question from here. And then the next question is from Eva Hansen. He has another question. First is, I wonder, what are the ties between trade union and many political parties, ideologically, financially, or organizationally ties? Do certain unions have link to particular political parties, both in Myanmar or in Thailand? The second question from Eva is there any international collaboration between union in Myanmar and union in other countries, especially in neighboring countries or farther away? And then there are another question from anonymous attendee. As so many banks stop operating, do many people cannot get their salary or they sustain their life during these months? That is also important question, how the people sustain their life during this time of resistance. I think that three questions first to respond by Giles and Moswe. Is the question is clear?
You have one question.
Maybe Moswe first, yeah.
May I make the clarification? One question, past question. Who is in the leadership? Is that workers union? Is that right? So
Yes, yes.
it is a past question. I lost the second question. That question, how to survive now? People are in this.
Yeah, during this time of struggle. Yeah.
It is. I get it. Two questions. Now, what is the third question? I'm sorry.
The third question is there any relation between trade union in Myanmar and in other countries, especially in neighborhood countries, like the relation between Myanmar union with Thailand union, Myanmar union with Philippine union, and also with Indonesia union? Is there something like that happening now? Yeah.
Solidarity. Yes. The first question. So actually, in this movement, so that it is actually more this movement like as a people movement, led by the youth and workers. So we have now 4 general strike committees now. Because of that situations, or some general strike committee set up by the political parties and some activists. So some activists, some political parties are like we might say left or leftics ideologics youth, and then some social democratic ideology parties, and then some activists. It is also there's one of the general strike committee, and it is called GSC, and then another general strike committee called general strike nationality strike committee. It is mostly the ethnic youth are organizing this general strike committees. Also another 2 general strike committee, because of according to the location, some of the 2 general strike committee, they set up their committee according to their location. So we have except our union organizing movement, those peoples are also, those alliance were set up in Burma. But we support to the CRPH, because CRPH is the democratically elected in 2020 November. So this is to fight the legitimacy around the world. So that though except unionics, those general strike committee are letting working together to carry on the strike on the street, as well as one thing I want to add here. Our movement now is more than respect our vote now, because many people started think at the beginnings, people think to release Aung San Suu Kyi president women and then to give it the NLD to transfer the power to the NLD. But now our movement is more than that. Now people started saying we don't like 2008 constitution. Even NLD support the 2008 constitutions, we don't accept. We will protest against NLD. Now that it is now our the people in young people in our movement are started. We want more than that to change our country. It's one question. And another question: how to survive? So now we for the people who join to the CDM, so stay at home. So we collect the donation and funding from the inside some of the the wealthy donators, and outside overseas Burmese donate organize the group, and then for example in Norway, so we organize we collect the donations, and we choose one center. For example, in Burma, we select one railway workers who join to the CDM. We are every month, at least 3 months, we collect the money for them to give to support them. So in Burma, so many so Mama so we set up the planning for the people who's joined to the especially CDM, the civil servants, and also we also your union also now try set that one funding for the worker who are joining to the protest now. Yeah.
Thank you, Moswe. And maybe for Charles, can you explain or share your reflection on the ties between the union and the political party, ideologically, financially, politically, how that's happened in Thailand, and mostly also maybe can explain how that's relation or tie up between union and the political party happened in Myanmar and how they can impact their position during the coup when the coup happened by the military. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, actually, the most of the union members and labor activists used to be the activists, in our movement. Also, we know each other. Some of the parties in Burma, I guess, DPNS, Democratic Party for New Society. It is a youth party. 1988. It is one of the second largest party after NLD in 1990. So they also campaigned after the military take the power. A military opened up the country in 2010 and held the election. They go back to their Burma. They set up the parties, and then also we also have a connection with the leader from the NLDs, because of we used to be work together since 1988. So they are also the activists. So the union leaders, labor activists, and the political parties, we have a connection. We have a consultation time to time. And then international community. So we are the member of the ILOs, and then we also have a solidarity with the LO, Labor Federation. You know already, LO is a federation of the trade unions in Norway. Also, we also have connected with the LO Sweden, and then we also have some a union from Philippines as well. So we also have some small trade union, Thai trade union. So we have like a couple of years ago, we made the network meeting once a year in Nassau and Bangkok. So we have some kind of relation with the other international regional unions.
Thank you, Moswe, to explain about this relation between Myanmar Union and others unions.
Yes.
And Giles, now can you give us some reflection on the relation or tie between the trade union and the political parties, both in Myanmar and in Thailand, and how that relation impact to their position in the military coup? Yeah, thank you.
Well, I can only talk about Thailand. The problem with the Thai trade union movement, as I mentioned, is that there is a lack of political trade unionism, and so there haven't really been official links between political parties and the trade unions. And in terms of recent events, the Future Forward Party, which was dissolved by the junta's constitutional court and now calls itself the Move Forward Party, does have what it calls a Labour section. And in many ways, it's unfortunate that some of the activists in the private enterprise unions have actually joined this Labour section. The problem is it isn't the Move Forward Party doesn't prioritise Labour issues. It's not a social democratic party, and so it's really a vehicle to win support from sections of the trade union movement, and it isn't the answer. And even the demands for a welfare state have not been taken up officially by this party. Someone put in the questions about ASEAN, and I think we can completely forget about ASEAN. The majority of ASEAN governments are actually undemocratic dictatorships, and so we shouldn't be expecting anything from them. But that doesn't mean to say that the people in different countries in ASEAN cannot support the struggles that are going on. And there's a question about what a permanent strike would look like, permanent general strike. Now, the permanent general strike would mean that workers in all sections of the economy, and that isn't just factory workers, but bank workers, financial workers, workers in hospitals and schools and other places, would be on permanent strike. Obviously with certain cover for hospitals and so on. And when you have a situation like that, and there are examples of this from Sudan recently, but also general strikes in Europe. When you have a situation like this, the issue of how people survive comes to the fore. And it means that the strike committees have to organize food distribution, control of fuel, electricity, and collect funds. And funds is something that trade unions in other countries can help with, so long as the funds go to rank and file strike committees. Now, if you have a situation like that where ordinary working people in committees are starting to organize the necessities of society, you're actually really confronting the state in a big way. And if you up the action, you can actually start to starve the military of fuel, of food, and make the country ungovernable. So I think that would be the way to overthrow the military. It's not going to be easy. It's easy, I can sit here in Scotland and talk about it, but it's up to the people on the ground to actually assess what is possible and how to achieve it. Thanks.
Thank you, Giles. I think because we are run of time, I need to select the last question. And first question is from Korean Metal Workers Union, KMWU. Where's the question? The question is about is there any focus day on action coming up soon, like 22 February strike, that we can use as focal point for solidarity action? And then that is from the Korean Metal Worker Union, South Korea. And then another question is from Reza. What is the best and the worst scenario that possibly happen in the current uprising in Myanmar? And then the second question is about, I try to collect the similar question in this about the international pressure, including ASEAN community, what the international pressure can happen and what we can expect from that thing. I think there's three questions, but of course the speaker is free to add if you have something to say or you have some reflection to say. Yeah, beside that three questions. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Moswe can start first, maybe. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. First question. You focus on the current. You see like solidarity strike. Yeah. And currently we don't have like I said, for now, that general strike call for now, because we already called for 2 times already, and then there's a lot of you may know already crackdown, and then we have a fallen heroes, and then so we now we are thinking. We got thinking, but what you can do is now we are we ask all our friends around the world currently to even overseas Burmese So to ask, you are to ask your government, and then to not to recognize military concept. Now military concept trying to, military regions trying to, they are trying to get the legitimacy from the international communities. And so please show your support to our people movement in CDM, and then ask your government not to recognize a military concept, Myanmar military concept, not to recognize people elected the CRPH elected set up by the elected parliament member. That is currently that we ask our friends to call for their support. So maybe we might have some kind of timing global call later on. It is a past question. Another question is a best second question was scenario. Now the CRPH said that they appointed the representative, and then for UN ambassador or the liaison officer, international affair, and then also CRPH appointed the some ministry, like it's a foreign ministry, something like that. But so we are fighting the, you might say legitimacy fight. And most of the countries, are not recognized, we must say, even though they don't officially make the announcement. But they are supporting CRPH. Some of the EU members, they already announced they support to the CRPH. So the best scenario, the military, especially this coup led by the General May Online, and then some generals, they have the how to call it, personal interest. So if international community, and then there's some of the intervention, they may take down, they may step down, and then they release the Aung San Suu Kyi and then women, and the NLD can call the parliament and set up the new government. It is the best scenario. And then the worst scenario, the weak military can crack down badly and then brutally. In that case, that's why people are dependent by this different way. So we set up our local, administration, local administration, as a civilian military government trying to appoint the visit, their administration unit. So people reject. We don't allow it. We were managed our community ourselves. So we are substitute the administration, even in the basic unit of the every cities now. So this is our fight. But we have a very how to call it, bad experience since 1988. We also do that kind of administrations, but the military crack down all the people. They don't get anything. They started killing everything. They don't listen to anybody. This is the wars. But it is a very different 1988 now. Because in 1988, we are under the military junta led by the Navy for 26 years. The countries are closed. So that there is no foreign media, no internet, So only just 2 state-owned media and TV. Now we have a, internet, Facebook, Instagram. So you can say every information came out in by second by second. It is one of our advantages. And then one of our generations, they have a high technology. So this is one of our advantages. So one most important thing is the people, and then the generation now, young generation, they decide already, because those generations, the people are under the NLD government for 5 years. So they start, they have an experience about their freedom. So they never want to go back to their, dark life and then dark previous. So the people already decide whatever happened, whatever have to pay, they are ready to pay. So that whatever happened, that's why now currently Dr. Sasa set up in the CPRH representative for UN. They call the UN for the R2P, so they are now to intervention. But there's a lot of problem we know, because R2P is not, immediately come to the country. Also, there's a lot of problem. But the people are trying a different way now. So some audience, they never give it, and that they kill the people and they keep the power. This is best. Many people will be sacrificed in this movement, but I'm sure people already decide. This time, many people will not give it, because we know if we give it, the military will rule another at least 2 decades. People already know. And the international community and ASEAN community, we are very, very concerned about that. Because of the last week, EU government made the announcement. They are going to, how to call it, talk to the military through with the ASEAN bloc. We are really concerned about that, because I'm sorry, let it say, Indonesia Foreign Ministry said the information leak out before he visits to the Naypyidaw. The information leak out. Indonesian ministry are going to talk to the military council to make sure to have the election in 1 year. We don't want it. People don't want another election. People want, we already elected our parliament member. So this is we are really concerned about the ASEAN communities. Some of the, you know already, so, governments, partially they are the authoritarian state, came from the authoritarian state. Normally the ASEAN have a, no interference policies, and then consensus. We are really concerned about that. But now ASEAN a little bit, they are they are, how to call it? They are sound, the voice is a little bit changed. There's a little bit they are now changing, because of the Western Europe countries started strongly, the support to the movement and then movement. So, but still, we are concerned about the ASEAN governments. Thank you.
Thank you, Moswe. Yeah. Now, like Jai explained, all of the ASEAN government is undemocratic government. So, what we can expect? Yeah, Giles, yeah, can you share your reflection with us? Yeah.
Well, I think I've said what I feel about ASEAN. In fact, also about the international community. I don't think they can be relied upon. I think it will be the people in Myanmar who will liberate themselves with the support and solidarity from people in surrounding countries. The best scenario that we could look forward to in Myanmar, if the struggle is strengthened, would be the total destruction of the Tatmadaw military in Burma, and a new political system being designed, democratic, equality kind of system, which encompasses self-determination for the various ethnic groups, and that would require new leaders. The worst case scenario would be brutal crackdown, followed by a grubby compromise, another fixed election, and the military want to bring in proportional representation so that they can make sure that the opposition is divided and they stay in power. And that's what's facing the people of Myanmar. But I'd like to say that what happens in Myanmar is not just about the people in Myanmar. It actually has enormous international relevance. It will affect the mood and the optimism of people in Thailand struggling against the military dictatorship. It will have an impact on activists in Hong Kong who are struggling for democracy. But it will have an impact that goes beyond that, because if the struggle is successful in Myanmar and the working class comes out and leads this struggle, it will point a way towards solving some of the deep crises that affect us throughout the world. The climate crisis, which is actually an emergency at the moment, with rising sea levels, rising temperatures, poor quality air, which is a real problem in ASEAN countries. But also there's the issue of COVID and the economic impact it's going to have, or is already having. Deep world recession, people forced down into poverty if they aren't killed off because of the virus. And make no mistake about this, the people that run the economies and the countries throughout the world will try to make ordinary working people, the poor, pay for the economic crisis. And if there is a victory for people struggling in Myanmar, it will provide an example of how to fight back against all these injustices. So it's not a question of us being nice to the people of Myanmar or and being friendly towards them. We share the need for a victory for democracy and equality. We will benefit from that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. People in Myanmar give us the best example on how we struggle and resist against the military, and give us an example how people sacrificing their life to defend their civil right. And like Moswe also mentioned to us, if the people lose this time, so at least Myanmar people will live under the military regime for the next 2 or 3 decades. So yeah, this is very critical situation. Before that, I want to give one more the last question from the participant. The last question is about the China rule. I think this is the most controversial question, but if you like to explain, or sharing your analysis on this. What is the China role in Myanmar and also in Thailand regarding the military junta? Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question after that,
Yeah.
we need to finish the question, the discussion. Okay, please, Mosfe and Joyce.
Yeah. Yes. Before I answer the role of China in Myanmar, so I'd like to add one thing, because in my presentation I also forget to mention about the alternate nationalities. They fight for their right, including Rohingyas. So Ajahn Jin mentioned about that. So we are appreciated. Actually, the Burmese people now more realize the situation now. Usually the people in the central cities, they don't know what happened in the other areas. I am the Burmese student exile in 1988. So we fled to the Thai-Burma border. We live in the other area. So we started to realize what is happening in the other area. People we don't know. For 26 years, we don't know. Also now, what is one advantages in our movement now? People started to realize that in 98, after crackdown 1988, there is a small strike, a small crackdown. Now, 32 years, some of the people now started realize the how military brutally kill the people in the city. So now they understand, even under the eyes of the media, eyes of the international community, they kill the people brutally on the street. So they started realize, okay, they can kill the people in the Afghan area, quite sure. So they started realize. This is one of the advantages. If one of the best scenario, if we win in this movement, people started realize that alternate different alternate have suffered long times ago for civil wars. So they started realize. They started also realize for the Rohingya issue as well. So we win this movement, people can be reunited. I believe that. It is what I want to add. And then another question: the role of the China is very big. Everywhere, especially in Burma. You know already. We have a gas pipeline from the west of the Myanmar to the east of the Myanmar. Go through the whole country, go through the gas pipeline to China. And then there's a lot of investment in China. The roads are very big. Well, that's another rule is that because of we have a geopolitics, already, because of China have the exit for the sea. They want to use Bahamas. We have a Cocoa Islands in the west of the Bahamas. The military hire the China to the Cocoa Island for the military base. So that the China have a very big interest economically, politically, and then how to call it the military strategies. So that's why last 30 years, they always back up in the UN Security Council. Whenever we ask for the intervention, UN and Russia, or China and Russia always block. They use the veto not to punish militaries. So the roles of the let me say that people really hate the Chinese government, because of the they support the Burmese military. That's why you can say the last couple of weeks, many times people go and protest in front of the Chinese embassy 2 times already. Overseas Burmese also go to the protest because of the Chinese government to protest in front of the Chinese government. Even in Norway now today we have a protest. 2 hours later, are going to join the protest in front of the Chinese embassy now. So, in summary, the China rule is very, very big. It is one of the problems. We are very concerned about the China government because of they are supporting. We believe that they are supporting military.
Thank you, Moswe. Yeah. Now, Jai. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, I mean, Moshe has outlined how the Chinese interest in Burma is very great, but the relationship between the Chinese government and the military regime isn't totally smooth, because Aung San Suu Kyi's government was actually cultivating a good relationship with the Chinese, and the Chinese were happy with this. And so they're not particularly happy with the coup d'etat. Not that they'll do anything about it. And I think that one of the things in order to understand what's going on, is to look at the role of imperialism. And so in terms of Myanmar and Thailand, we have two large imperialist blocs competing with each other, the United States versus China. And it would be totally wrong to support either side. Neither of these powers actually hold neither of them want to see democracy. Neither of them have the interests of ordinary working people in mind in any way whatsoever. Of course, it would be ridiculous to expect that China would do something about the coup. I mean, after all, its crackdown in Hong Kong, or with the Uyghurs in the west of China, shows that they have no commitment whatsoever to human rights and democracy. But then neither does the United States. Look at its intervention in the Middle East and so on, and in Latin America. So all that the governments, all that people can do is to actually try and play off one side against the other, or that's what the governments do. In terms of people, I think that it would be better to just try and not have any hopes that either China or the United States are going to do anything about the situation, either in Thailand or in Myanmar. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Moswe explained about how deep the China intervention, especially in the borders area of Myanmar and China, and how the military China support the Myanmar military regime. But yeah, Giles also remind us if this is the imperialist role in the region, and the competition between imperialist bloc between China and United States. Both of them they don't want democracy in our countries. So not against one and support the other ones, because both of them are imperialist. And United States also have bloody intervention in Middle East and also in Latin America. Yes, thank you for two of you. I think it's already 2 hours. Yes, thank you very much. A lot of questions from the participant. This is very interesting discussion. Me, myself, personally, I learned a lot from 2 of you. Thank you, Moswe. Thank you, Giles. Thank you for the interpreter, and thank you for the organizer. I think because the situation is still ongoing in Myanmar, I wish we can organize another meeting like this to keep us updated on the situation on the ground. and to keep us inform each other in the different countries, because like Jal say, we have a sharing of need of the victory against the military rule in Myanmar. And the people of Myanmar already sacrificed a lot. Uh, uh, some 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 protester is already fallen, and we hope we can keep remembers the fallen protester in Myanmar. Thank you. And then I give the floor back to MRC, to Mabel, as the co-host of the organizer. Yes, please, Mabel. Thank you very much. Mabel, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And it is really a very good update and sharing. And thank you, Abu, for moderating and all the interpreters. And also, I saw a lot of people also saying that we will stand with the people in Myanmar and also Thailand. So that's why we are now having a very lots of people are also saying that we have this multi alliance. And then, well, I think that it is a very new style of movement that we have, because we can have we can make use of the internet and to do better communication. As what Abu has said, perhaps that we can have another sharing and discussion in the near future. So thank you for your thank you for joining us, and then thank you for all the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Moswe. Thank you, Jazz.
Thank you. Bye-bye.